himself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on, so knew off in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani, not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the loud pedal, and approaches dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is... Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. Is now Pike going to have a go at Werrell? Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
On to the back end of Phil Jocelyn, so there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's allowed to have fun. Yeah, it's all about the entertainment. So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching. The Burger King machine's off into the grass a little bit there as they're really bunching up now.
Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
Oh, they're going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry.
Welcome to Bathurst for the penultimate round of the Radical Race Series here for Season 1 in 2024. Things are really starting to get serious with just 20 points between Simon Edwards and John McCutcheon heading into the final 2 rounds of our championship. First of all here at Bathurst, next of all at Donington Park in 1 week's time. There's a lot of Bathurst racing going on at the moment, by the way. There's 3 races broadcasts ongoing right now on the JPB YouTube channel, all at the same circuit, so it's a bit of a bizarre coincidence for us today, but it's that time of year where the Bathurst 12 hours just gone in the real world, and the virtual one is upcoming this weekend, and I know that some of the drivers here are a bit of a fan of GT3 racing, so maybe they're going to be competing as well. We'll find that out at the end of the broadcast probably, but we're not far away from qualifying, so it's time to introduce ourselves. My name is Ewan O'Leary alongside James Parfitt once again for this round of the championship. And we've got another interesting one. It's Simon Edwards versus John McCutcheon, as it always has been. And there's now just 20 points separating them with, this round and Donington Park coming up to go.
Yeah, it seems really sad that the season's coming to an end already. 2 races left. And it has been an absolute epic season here as well. It's going to be an exciting one tonight as well. You've got 7 laps starting off, and then we've got 12 laps for the feature race. Good evening, Phil, by the way, in YouTube. So there we go.
So let's have a look at the championship standings at the start of the day and explain why they are the way they are. Simon Edwards is still leading by 20 points ahead of John McCutcheon. Might be some moved ahead of Luke Maxwell and James Barry in the fight for 3rd place last time, with George Gonzaga moving ahead of Adam Tighe and Paul Clark last round as well. Paul LeMay stays 9th, with David Walter moving up into the top 10. Phil Glover trailing him very closely, with Michael LeMay there too. James Ritchie is in 12th position, 13th, ahead of Phil Jocelyn, who's on 200 points. Then it's Damien G and Jamie Bird. It is Paul Crabb in 17th position ahead of Jeff McIntyre, Robert Woodward and Graham Brown to round out the top 20. Now, at the end of the Monza broadcast, I'm not sure if I said this at the time or not, or whether I got the maths wrong, it's entirely possible, but at the end of that round, initially, Simon Edwards only had a 10-point lead over John McCutcheon, but a penalty was assessed in one of the longest stewards report that this series has ever seen, in fact, and John McCutcheon was docked 10 points in penalties, and so that effectively doubles the championship margin. And he said after that, well, the season is over. We always commend him for saying it's not over till it's over, but he literally did say it in the Discord a few days ago.
Well, that is quite a surprise, because at the end of the day, John never gives up, right? We know he doesn't ever give up. We know he battles on to the end, but he must feel that it's done and dusted for him to come out and say it. And to be fair, 10 points, that's a big old chunk of points there as well. But as you say, it was a long old stewards report coming out this week. So we are just going into qualifying. They're not going to get long, no, bud, as we're here at Bathurst, and it is over a 1 minute 58 second lap, I think it is, as well. But let's see who can get out and who can get going. Bit of a short grid. We've only got 13 cars on the grid for this week.
Yeah, it is a bit of a shame, but maybe people are a bit tired of Bathurst. I know we got a couple of absentees actually for reasons tonight. Robert Woodward doesn't want to race tonight. Say doesn't want to. He does want to, but couldn't. Says he's got a deadline coming up, so fair enough. And David Walters apparently is going to be watching from his hotel room. I'm not sure where that hotel room is, but he's decided to watch from there. So got another viewer here today instead of racer, which I'm sure we'd rather see people out there on the circuit, but never mind, you can do what you've got to do. It looks like we start the extended qualifying as well, by the way, in terms of minutes. It looks like we've got 11 for this one, maybe just to allow the drivers an extra lap, because if we only had 10 minutes, they would only have 3 laps realistically to actually set times, which is admittedly what we used to have, so it's not that constraining on the drivers, but nevertheless they've decided to give them 4 flying laps, and that means 11 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, it does. They've got a little bit of an extra time here as well. Not a massive amount of extra time, but a little bit of extra time. 2 minute a lap for GT Freeze, says Phil across the pond there as well. He's obviously keeping an eye on the other Bathurst broadcast. We've got Evolutions going off as well, and I believe the ACC broadcast is still running for the TSRC GT Freeze once again, and as we stated earlier on, they are at Bathurst as well. So 3 broadcasts, all from the same circuit here, and one that we all love, but we don't necessarily love the mountain section.
Well, it's an entertaining circuit and part of the circuit to drive. I really enjoy this circuit, I've got to say, but there we go. Everyone's got their different opinion on it, to be fair, and we have been here quite a lot. I can understand why it might be just beginning to wear some of these drivers down, maybe, in terms of how they're enjoying it or how they're not enjoying it, indeed, at this moment in time. So these cars are, as Phil says, slightly quicker than a GT3. I think in real life you'd be lucky actually to get anywhere close to the actual 2 minute dead marker, but maybe in iRacing there's obviously the factor that you're not scared of crashing because there's no real physical repercussions, and so and of course the slight faster speeds that you get in iRacing anyway compared to real life does mean that you can go a little bit quicker, but these radicals can go a bit quicker than both of them. So there we go. They will be just under the 2 minutes, you'd imagine. A good time, just under the 1:58. And that's exactly where Simon Edwards was in that first part of the day, in that practice session. He got into the 1:57s. And what I did notice from that practice session as well was that the gaps were actually pretty big between the drivers. That is a problem in terms of everybody else trying to win here. Simon Edwards very strong in practice, and that's not normally a good sign for everyone else.
No, it doesn't, to be honest, but he's been so consistent this season. I don't think anybody would begrudge this man the championship, to be honest, and I think he's well on his way to getting his next one here as well. So I think overall it's going to be an interesting one. David Waters is in YouTube chat. David, what hotel are you in, and why are you in a hotel there as well? Are you just cruising? Are you just gone away for the evening? What's the situation there once again? I am going to do this because my boy, bless him, my 13-year-old is taking part in his first ever league race tonight in F123. So I want to give a shout out to George there as well. Good luck, George, for your first league race in F123. Bless him as well. He's a little bit nervous. He's been a little bit edgy since he's come home from school, to be fair.
Tonight.
Still,
it's pretty late, isn't it?
He's doing the Prospects Tier 3.
Pretty late for a 13-year-old to be league racing.
Oh,
anyway.
Come on, Ewan. He's a man he's a kid that never sleeps. He is so hyperactive. He carries so much energy. He can go to school on about 4 hours kip and still get through the whole day.
Well, okay. Well, that wouldn't have been allowed in my house as a child. But anyway, times have changed, I suppose.
Oh, you
that's a joke, by the way.
You stickler you there as well, Mr. O'Leary.
That's a joke, obviously. I was only that age in about 2016. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah,
so
he was only 4 at that point, obviously, as well.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, but he's there. He's well excited.
I tell you, somebody who was born in 2012 should not be old enough to league race. That doesn't work well in my head, to be honest. But there we are.
You're saying that, right? I did an interview earlier on in an Australian league race, and I was like, blimey, he sounds young. And I spoke to the league owner, and the kid is 14 years of age in a GR86 in iRacing, and he beat some of the older drivers in the series as well. Incredible. And he's in Pro-Am, he's not even in Am. So I think me and you are just getting old, or we're getting slow, one of the two, bud. Or both.
That would suggest that I was quick to begin with, so I'm not.
Well, yeah, that is also true.
I'm not going to go along with that, I don't think. So there we are. You can tell it's a long lap round here. We have to wait quite a while for everyone to get back to the line again, and we've done just that. Now Simon Edwards will be coming up towards the line to complete his second flying lap of the evening. He's already on top of the standings by quite some distance, half a second. I know he's not maybe the longest distance around here because it's such a long circuit, but nevertheless, it's a good performance from Simon Edwards he's putting in already, although that's not any quicker. Luke Maxwell in the background will go quicker though, and he's only a tenth, less than a tenth actually off second place, but none of them can get near Simon Edwards. James Barry can't either. John McCutcheon's a little bit further back than him. He's actually making his way over the mountain, isn't he? John McCutcheon. There's his teammate Mike Bousson in 9th place, just ahead of Phil Glover, who improves to 10th there. And somehow Bouson's found himself in the slipstream with Paul Clark here, and they're running on pretty similar pace.
Yeah, I am shocked that Bousson and Hutchinson did not go out together, because running the slipstream down the Conrod Straight is going to be worth some time, and it might not be worth a lot, or it might only be worth tenths, but tenths is better than none. So you got John running down here on his own. You got Simon on his own as well. James Barry is another one that's running on his own, and Luke Maxwell's on his own. But the boys in 8th with Paul Clark and Mike Bousson are not. And also Phil Jocelyn has got David Beasley just nestled round the corner behind him. So yeah, I am shocked that the guys from Team Radline did not go out and go out together there as well. So and I want to give Paul Clark a shout out. He took part in the NASCAR Super Series on Tuesday, and they did the whole of the race at Pocono without a yellow flag. So well done to all the guys there from the NASCAR Super Series for doing Pocono without a caution.
Yeah, it was a very good race. It was a last lap sort of decider, if you like. Went down to the very last lap. So if you want to go back and check it out after this broadcast, then make sure you do so on the YouTube channel, which is it has all the broadcasts available for you after they've finished, if you want to go and have a look. Side by side into the chase is not a great idea in qualifying, and Mike Bousson makes his way through and slides straight off the road.
Oh man,
awkward, really.
They didn't time that right, did they? They didn't get the swap quite right there, and the man from Froome took the SR10 over the grass like he was driving a tractor, bless him. So poor old Mike Bousson there, took it over the grass and did some little ploughing on the way through to get his little carrots.
Yeah, I didn't know he was from Froome itself.
Yeah, he's Somerset, mate. He's literally 40 minutes up the road.
I went on holiday to Froome once.
Did you?
I did, yeah.
Why?
It wasn't that long ago, is it? It was COVID times, I think, maybe.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Well, it's just very different to where I grew up, isn't it? Really. So.
It's Weymouth, mate. That's got a beach and an arcade to play in.
Well, I don't like beaches, to be honest. So I wouldn't go to the beach.
Froome's High Street's shorter than the Conrod Straight.
I don't. Yeah, I don't remember it, to be honest. I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure that's a good thing, mate.
One thing I do remember is finding it incredibly difficult to watch a football match. But for some unknown reason, they don't like football very much in Froome, or Somerset generally, actually.
No, you got more chance of watching a tractor pulling contest.
Yeah, I bet I have. Yeah, it's a bit odd though. But anyway,
I'm just surprised that you went on holiday. What did you do? Just stick a map on a dartboard and throw a dart at it, and ended up in Froome?
Well, I don't know. I don't think I was even 18, so I didn't really have much say in the matter. So,
okay.
So there you are. John McCutcheon's gone fastest, and he clearly thinks that is enough. He's gone back to the pit lane after a 1:57.9, and Simon Edwards somewhat concerned. Oh well, he's driven on the grass now. He's certainly not going to improve. So after doing so well in qualifying, he has not been able to get, so well in practice, I should say. He's not got the pole position, and maybe what he was trying to do there is give Luke Maxwell a slipstream so that he can beat John McCutcheon, but that's a bit of a forlorn hope at the moment. Maxwell needs to find more than half a second by the looks of things out of the final corner, and he's not got many green sectors to his name, and no, that is not going to be, well, it's an improvement, but it's still third place. What about James Barry, who will come over the line just behind? And no for him either. He will stay fourth. So John McCutcheon has stolen it, and he really needs to do that if he wants to gain points today.
Yeah, Paul Clark got an improvement there on a 1:59.233 right at the end as well. Phil Jocelyn's coming round in his new livery. Well, I say new, he's had it for all season, but it does get a little bit good to confuse him with him in the now yellow livery machine. And he goes on a 2-minute 1:26. Come on, Jamie Bird. This is your week, buddy. You're going to qualify top 5, aren't you, as you're going to go over the... No, you're not. All right. Well, he's in the top 6. He's going to go and win it. We know Jamie Bird is... He's such a weird enigma, is Jamie Bird. I do find it really confusing with him sometimes because he does so well and then the race can go so wrong. So, And let's hope he don't do that.
Yeah, I think he's qualified too well to do well for Jamie Bird.
Because when he's at the back, he makes his way through, doesn't he? It does a great job. So, yeah, let's see how he gets on here as well. But the grid is on your screen there, buddy.
Yeah, so it's John McCutcheon who's taken pole position, stolen pole position, you could say, with a 1:57.9. Simon Edwards couldn't go any quicker than his first flying lap, and he's second. Luke Maxwell and James Barry are going to continue their fight for third in the championship by fighting for third on the track as well, probably. George Gonzaga and Jamie Bird are on the third row, ahead of Paul Clark and Graham Brown. Then it's Mike Booston and Phil Jocelyn to round at the top 10. Phil Glover and David Beasley will look to get into that, to break into that reverse grid. And then that was all your qualifiers for the race. As we mentioned, a smaller grid here tonight, but the main two are here. John McCutcheon versus Simon Edwards for the title. And James Ritchie, by the way, has got an enforced pit lane start as a result of penalties from last week.
Well, he's out on the grid, so that's a little bit worrying.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I think that's the case. Yeah, he's got a pit lane start, and so is Phil Jocelyn as well. But
they're out of the grid.
He's not here.
Jocelyn's out of the grid as well.
He's on the grid.
On the grid, yeah. Look, I'm just there.
Did he qualify? He did qualify. He's broken the rules as Phil Jocelyn, I think. So both of them have. The ruling is they're required to start from the pit lane in the next race that they start in, and it doesn't look like either of them are going to. So they could land themselves in even bigger trouble for the final rounds of the season. But anyway, let's have a look at this race start. Just 7 laps. Doesn't seem like a very long time around here, but it's a long circuit and a big challenge here at Bathurst. The 4th last race of the season in the Radical Race Series Championship battle is underway, and John McCutcheon has got off to a good start. Somewhat preemptively goes defensive, in fact, into Hell Corner, and who shut the door in Simon Edwards' face on the way out. Now on the way up Mountain Straight, there's going to be a big slipstream train, and in fact there's almost no one side by side initially until they get to the crest of the hill, and now they'll be going for it. Simon Edwards with the straight line speed, and maybe he's going to put this to his advantage all day long. McCutcheon knows the importance of this. Oh, and Maxwell's in the wall, and Jamie Bird's in there with him. It's a chaotic start in the positions a bit further back, but they've all made it out of turn 2 correctly at least, which is a good thing. John McCutcheon has held on to the lead then, ahead of Simon Edwards, who was challenged by James Barry initially out of turn 2 as well, but they stay in those same positions in the opening lap across the top.
Yeah, they definitely do. One of the men that isn't going to carry on is James McRitchie. I'm not entirely sure if he's had a problem already, because unfortunately... Whoa! What? Who was that?
What's that all about?
That Phil? No, it wasn't. Who's in the wall on the left-hand side? That was David Beasley. So McRitchie ended up going off the side of the circuit due to that, and ended up in the wall. He's now jumped to the pits. Beasley obviously come through like an absolute banshee, and we saw what he got up to. But Edwards at the moment has got McCutcheon not very far apart. That was a bit of a weird start.
Simon Edwards very close to the back of John McCutcheon, and is this going to be a story of the evening? Because Edwards right now has a chance to seal the title, by the way, with tonight's racing. John McCutcheon, oh, contact again! There's contact between the championship rivals again, and John McCutcheon is going to drop back positions again with Simon Edwards recovering. Is John McCutcheon going to give the place back up again? This normally alleviates a penalty. That is going to be on him, and he's going to get a penalty post-race for that, I would think, if indeed he doesn't wait up. But now that he has, will he avoid a penalty?
Well, that's going to be the question, isn't it? Maxwell's also been off track again. Luke Maxwell, what is going on here as he's running there? I think he got it all right. Unfortunately, the camera angle was a bit rubbish. So let's have a look and see. I think coming out of Forest Elbow, he did on the gas, and around he went here as well. And the 3 main protagonists are Maxwell, McCutcheon, and Edwards are not having a good race. But that's left Bousson, Clark, Gonzaga, and Barry fighting out at the front.
Well, that was close on the way into the cutting, and you don't normally want to go side by side through there, but through goes Mike Bousson into 4th place, and now there's a huge chance for somebody different other than those 3 to win a race here at Bathurst. And by the way, there's a chance for all 10 of the drivers still actually out on the road to finish on the pole for the second race. That's how few we've got remaining in this race already. At the end of only the first lap of this one, we've already got Jamie Bird on pole position by the fact that he's still in the race. Nobody else is going to catch him, surely, because the other three are in pit lane.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, you can see Edwards down 5, McCutcheon 7, Maxwell 6, Bird 4. That was literally the top part of the grid. Barry, Gonzaga, Clark, Buson, Brown, Jocelyn have all gained places, which is absolutely amazing for them. Are we going to see Paul Clark victory, or do we think James Barry and Gonzaga are going to go at it too for now here, as Buson, saying that, just goes past Clark?
So that's the battle into the chase. Now, I want to talk a little bit about that incident between Simon Edwards and John McCutcheon. I think we're in agreement that John would, on a normal day, get a penalty for that. However, and penalties normally in this series, by the way, mean a deduction of championship points. And depending on how severe that is, the most severe we've seen so far, I believe, is 5 championship points deducted, and that seems to be the norm. However, take a look at the incident that we saw at Road Atlanta 2 weeks ago in the sprint race when Luke Maxwell made contact into the final chicane. Can't remember for the life of me who it was with. It might have been with Simon Edwards, but it might not have been. The penalty initially would have been 5 championship points deducted from Maxwell, but that penalty was deducted just to a warning because he proactively gave the place back, to give the words of the stewards. Now, John McCutcheon arguably did the same thing there, so will he avoid punishment with regards to championship points? Because if he does get another load of championship points taken away from him, surely it could be championship over right in that very move.
Yeah, but that's what you said, isn't it? The maximum's been 5 so far, and John got 10.
So 2 incidents, though.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing, isn't it? But at the moment, these guys are going to go and hurtle in through Skyline, in down the S's they go. Dipper's on the next one, left. Now they're going to carry the wall. Now they're going to go round the left-hander, onto the brakes just about now, getting it stopped into Forest Elbow and on their way down the Conrad Straight again. They're all a little bit more spread out, and it is just John McCutcheon, Simon Edwards and Phil Jocelyn that are the closest ones on track at the moment. Mount Panama, says Zach Sweeney in YouTube chat.
Panama?
Yeah,
what is he?
I don't. Sometimes there's no point trying to decipher what this young man thinks.
Is that a Biggles reference? I don't know. But
I have no idea, bud.
Simon Edwards makes his way through to 6th, by the way, ahead of Phil Jocelyn into the chase. So another position gained by Simon Edwards. Now, in the championship standings, if Simon Edwards finishes ahead of John McCutcheon in this one, then he could be in real trouble, could John? We've got the impending penalty, of course. Neither of them are going to score 3 bonus points for getting no incidents in this first race because they've just hit each other. However, if he takes points away, Simon Edwards here, then he's in a real good spot. As of right now, if John McCutcheon isn't within 16 points of his rival going into that final race, then Edwards will be champion before the end of the season. For the first time in a little while, first time in a couple of seasons that we've seen the title fight settled before the final round. Only happened once in 2023. It may well happen in the first season of 2024.
Yeah, might well do that as well. James McRitchie has come out and he has said, I am so sorry. I forgot I had a pit lane start. His missus was nosing him, apparently. Then remembered and tried
What does that mean?
I don't know. Then tried to get out of the way and caused a huge crash. So he said he's so sorry about that. Nosing, I think, unless he meant nagging, which is not surprised, depending on how long you've been married for. But nosing, yeah, never heard of that one before.
Nosing.
Okay. I might have to. I'll Google it, mate. You carry on.
Okay, it could be a Birmingham phrase, maybe. I know Sports Aston Villa.
That's a bad enough problem as it is.
I'm guessing he's.
Oh, okay. So nosing is something that is continually annoying or causes a person to become agitated or frustrated. So I guess for him, he had his wife giving him grief.
Okay. Always blame it on someone else. Remember that as a racing driver. It's never your fault.
No, it's not. But he's going to self-punish himself, apparently. And he said, I'll see you next season. So I don't know if that means he's not going to be here for this race too or the next race, of course, at Donington.
I think it means both, unfortunately. Yeah, we'd like to see James McRitchie back, of course. Race winner in this championship on previous occasion. Was it last season or the season before? Anyway, he took the series by storm by winning at Spa in that feature race, if you remember, back in 2023. It's a great race it was, and a great sort of defence from him at the end of that season, or the end of that race, sorry, to take a race win. And unfortunately, it sounds like we won't be seeing him again for the remainder of this one, which is a shame. There's the gap between Edwards and McCutcheon. It's only gaining, and it seems that qualifying performance from McCutcheon is turning and not translating into race pace. Now, whether he's got damage from the contact or not, we don't know, of course, but it's not looking good for him if this is the real pace that he's showing.
Yeah, well, we can have a look how fast he's going up through here. We're looking at he's over 100. I think it's going to be the Conrod that's going to be the main one, to be honest, to see if he is losing time or struggling just with the car. He can still see Edwards, so there's enough motivation there. And he knows from McCutcheon's point of view that Edwards has got the immovable object of Paul Clark in front of him. So at the end of the day, McCutcheon's still got a chance because Clark can make it hard, but he has got the Conrod coming up, and that isn't a place where you can really make it hard. You've got to pick a side and hope for the best, to be honest. So I think Simon Edwards could be on the path here to get past Paul Clark and possibly Graham Brown at the same time.
Let's see if Edwards can work his way through. He's right in the slipstream of Paul Clark now, and works his way to the outside. He'll get the slipstream of Brown as well. He's worked that out very well. All things have just worked well in his favour, maybe both, as he works his way through into the chase. He'll have 2 laps to go, and he'll have all the drivers in front of him. He'll have all the options and possibly all the points in front of him as well. Don't think he's going to be able to get to James Barry before the end of this one, and George Gonzaga might even be too far away. But Mike Poulsen might well be looking over his shoulder here with 2 laps to go. You can gain and lose a lot of time around here very quickly.
He definitely can. Did you see the speed difference there as well? Simon Edwards topping 178, John McCutcheon barely touching 171. So they are there as well. And unfortunately, there is a little bit of an issue. I'm not really sure who that is in YouTube chat and why that is important news. But I think in the politest possible way there, young man, whoever you may be, one more. And you won't be here much longer, dear sir. Unfortunately, it's not something we really need to know about.
Into 4th place for Simon Edwards. Then, can he get to Mike Poulsen or not? Just over 2 seconds. Oh, well, he's taken half a second now immediately through the cutting there. So, through he goes. And he might well be in a battle again very soon. And I do think that John McCutcheon may well have damage here, to be honest. He's seemingly going right over the top. He's brought it down to a second to Clark, and now under a second, as you can see. How close can he get, and how many positions can he get at this stage in the race? John McCutcheon looking for 1 point a position basically, but Simon Edwards looking for 2. If he can pass Poulsen, then it will be a couple of positions. So there's McCutcheon, 2 points for those 2 positions up in front, and Simon Edwards just 1 lot of 2 points, so you get the point. But Simon Edwards at the moment looks like he's going to be extending his championship lead if things stay as they are.
Yeah, this might give McCutcheon a bit of a boost in speed. I just don't know if he's still going to have enough over Paul Clark, who clearly hasn't got damage there. 170 at the moment. He's using that draft well, but I don't think he's going to have enough. I don't think he's got enough to make the move. If he is going to do it, he's got to try and do it down into the chase, but I just don't think with that damage he's going to have the pace to even try and clear Clark. And we know how Clark can make it as difficult as he wants to as James Barry goes on to the final lap.
That was close into the final turn, and now Clark's lost so much time. This is going to be John McCutcheon's last overtake, I would say, in this race. Down the inside at Hell Corner he'll go, and through he goes. So in that exchange, he's lost 2 seconds to Brown, and surely that's a gap that he's not going to be able to bridge.
Yeah, you can see with Clark here as well, 138. Clark's well above him on 144. So McCutcheon is losing time here, but I think if Clark can stay close enough to him on the Conrad, I think Clark should get him by the time they get down to the end of that there as well. And I think that's going to be job done. Simon Edwards, on the other hand, there is Mike Poulsen. Mike really needs to make it as difficult as possible there as well for Simon Edwards to get through. And he's got to protect, obviously, his teammate in McCutcheon. So it'd be interesting to see what them boys get up to.
Well, look at the way that Edwards is just floating the car over the top of the mountain here. Fantastic driving from him, clearly at one with the circuit. I think he said to us last week, didn't he, that he does really enjoy going around here, and you can see why. He is just a machine around here and might well get onto the podium despite an incident with John McCutcheon. Another one, of course. They made contact at Monza last week, and Simon Edwards went off the road a couple of times at Road Atlanta after making contact with people. It's been a difficult few rounds for him, in fact. The last 3 rounds have all been his drop rounds, of course, but maybe he can just take one more place before the end of this race. Boutsen weaves around. He clearly wants the inside for the braking zone, but not the kink itself. Now, does it matter? Doesn't look like it. Simon Edwards goes through and puts daylight between himself and John McCutcheon, not only in this race, but in this title fight as well. Meanwhile, James Barry's going to come over the line to take the first race win here at Bathurst. He stepped into the void left by those two after their incident on the early laps, and he will win the race with James Barry as Simon Edwards sets the purple lap at the end of this race. He finishes third, and he will gain 5 points over John McCutcheon, to mean that John has to gain 9 or 10 points or more if he wants to keep this championship alive after the final race tonight.
Yeah, Maxwell coming over the line in 11th. Then we've got Bird, Glover and Beasley there, unfortunately. As you said, from Jamie Bird, he qualified a bit too well. And then it all went a little bit Pete Tong. But he will be on pole for race 2. So I'm looking forward to that one when Phil Glover is just coming over the top of the mountain. So he's still got a little bit of a way before we can bring you up the results here.
I didn't even realise Phil Glover had got back into the race, actually. Clearly didn't have many joys in the opening lap of the race. He's not quite a lap down, is he? He's still on the lead lap. But either way, it doesn't matter for him. He'll be starting 11th.
Yeah, he just made it, bless him.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it doesn't matter for him. He will finish 11th, and that will be the end of it for him. So we'll start this next race 11th, and I don't think he'll be too disappointed because he doesn't often, when he speaks to us afterwards, I don't get the feeling he often likes starting on the front row, really, even though it has happened a few times now in the last year or so.
Yeah, and we almost thought he was going to get it at one point, and then he finished within the top 10, I think, there as well. So, yeah, good old Phil. I do love a little bit of Phil Glover. However, it's probably his motion rig is working overtime going in through that mountain section. So that would be an interesting one to see as well. I wish you'd get a webcam so we could actually see him in, well, I was going to say in motion, but you know what I mean.
Well, I guess he is in motion. In motion simulation, in fact. Anyway, there we are. James Barry has won the race ahead of George Gonzaga, who will be on the 5th row with him. Simon Edwards recovered to 3rd, somewhat remarkably there, to pass Mike Boutsen on the final lap. Graham Brown also stayed between Edwards and John McCutcheon, who finishes 6th. Paul Clark is 7th, or finishes 7th at Phil Justin, who did not start from the pit lane, and may well see the repercussions of that. He'll start this next race from 3rd, though, with Luke Maxwell and Jamie Bird rounding out the top 10. Then Phil Glover, David Beasley and James McRitchie, who won't be returning for the 2nd race this evening. So the maths is pretty simple at this stage. The gap now 26 points between John McCutcheon and Simon Edwards. It needs to be 16 points or less for John McCutcheon to still have a chance in this championship, unless we want to go to bonus points and start figuring out all of that. That's not really possible. But in short, if Simon Edwards finishes inside the top 3 on the podium places, then he's all but won this championship here this season.
Oh man, done and dusted before we even get to the final round. That's a shame.
Pretty much.
That's a shame, isn't it, really? But it is what it is. Yeah, but you can't begrudge him here. I think you can't begrudge him. He has been so consistent. He has been the man, and he started to be the man from the beginning of the season, and he's just continued to be the man. And he has just been consistent. So can you really begrudge him the win in the championship? No, you definitely can't. He's just been unstoppable this season.
Yep, so 22 points is the gap that it needs to be if we're going to assume that John McCutcheon could pick up the bonus points as well. Although I feel like winning both races and getting no incident points at Donington Park is like trying to stick your fork in a toaster without electrocuting yourself. I don't think it's possible, but we'll see. We'll see if we have to get to that point. Anyway, if that is the case, then it is still technically in John McCutcheon's hands, but he does need to win every race from now until the end of the season. We've been in this situation before. I think it was with Simon Edwards, if you remember, season 3 last season. He needs to win both races at Interlagos and then the final races at the final venue as well. But anyway, let's see if we get there. Jamie Bird and Luke Maxwell will be on the front row for this second race ahead of Phil Jocelyn and Paul Clark. It will be John McCutcheon needing to win from 5th ahead of Graham Brown, then Mike Booson and championship leader Simon Edwards, who could wrap it up with this win here, or this race here. George Gonzaga, James Barry, Phil Glover and David Beasley round out the 12 drivers who will be competing in this one. Unfortunately, James McRitchie won't be taking the start, as he's told us, unless he's had a change of heart in the last few moments. He's hiding from everyone in the Discord. Clearly doesn't want to speak to them.
He's gone on hit after his chaotic beginning. Just go and start out there, James. Give it a bash, but it doesn't look like he is, but the lights are coming on.
Unfortunately not. It's going to be the final race at Bathurst. 3 to go now in the Radical Race Series, and we're underway with Jamie Bird concerningly starting from first position. He's gone off to a good start though, and Luke Maxwell can't challenge him into... Oh no! Oh, he's gone at hell corner immediately. Jamie Bird from the pole position immediately down to last. And this is what happens when he starts well. He needs to start at the back of the field, otherwise he's going to finish last. And at the moment, he is last. John McCutcheon has already made up 3 places as a result. And look at him. Why, he doesn't want to go down the inside again here. Maybe flashbacks of race 1. Doesn't want another incident as Graham Brown is dropping like a stone through the field. Now he's gone back to the pit lane. He's clearly had problems on this opening lap. Let's see what happened to him. Up mountain straight here. This looks a bit odd, to be honest with you. It's Simon Edwards right behind. And Graham Brown cannot brake. Oh, goodness me. He's lucky he didn't bounce back onto the track there.
Yeah, he is at the moment now. Unfortunately for Graham Brown, but McCutcheon did what he needed to do. He's got away at the beginning. Simon Edwards is now up 3. He's in 5th place. He's got Paul Clark in front of him there as well. James Barry behind him, chasing down his teammate with George Gonzaga there. So a great little team battle is happening once again. But Luke Maxwell, John McCutcheon on their way through the Dipper and down into Forest Elbow.
So here they go. On board with John McCutcheon, who ideally needs to win here, really. Simon Edwards, you imagine he's going to make up some places, but will he be able to catch these two up front? I've already got concerns about him not being able to catch these two, to be honest. Maxwell and McCutcheon have already gone, and Edwards is still stuck behind Phil Jocelyn and Paul Clark.
Yeah, Edwards, he's just cleared Clark at the moment. So Buson's trying to come through. Buson's got double extra draft, of course. He is 2 deep there. Jocelyn's holding the line. Edwards goes in a little bit hot. Clark's going to have the momentum. He's nearly getting tagged by Mike Buson. But at the moment, Jocelyn is doing a stellar job in holding this one up. Does he leave the inside door open? He does. How is he going to fight it? Whether or not he's going to try and get around the outside. He did Phil Jocelyn. So good old Phil Jocelyn giving it a good old bash in.
And Mike Booson could help his teammate out here by getting very close indeed to Simon Edwards. So Phil Jocelyn holding on very well here from Edwards, Booson. James Barry is there as well. Race 1 winner, of course, but now he pulls out the way. Does Phil. And so Edwards will go through with that mighty straight line speed he's got. And that's sort of a half defence as well from Simon Edwards to keep Mike Booson behind. Booson goes through as well. Jamie Bird will follow through tentatively, and won't actually make it in the end. So Barry might well be stuck behind Phil Jocelyn over the top of the hill. But Edwards and Booson are now free. Now can Simon Edwards catch that 2.5 second margin to get up to John McCutcheon and maybe challenge for the win here?
Yeah, hopefully he might be able to, but can Buson just keep hold of Edwards? He needs to just make sure he can do that, really. Put Edwards under pressure. Let McCutcheon fight away. Let's just make sure that obviously they don't end up making any comings together there. But Edwards seems to curry a lot more corner going around McPhillippi Park. Now going in to the Dipper, the left hand, and getting it hooked in, getting it right turned. Again, Edwards looking a lot more comfortable than Buson.
That was very close to the wall again for Simon Edwards. Down into Forest Elbow they go. It's a nicer, quicker line from Simon Edwards there as he tries to get rid of Mike Booson, weaving around a little bit, I believe, on the exit of the corner. James Barry has got past Phil Jocelyn very quickly there. Makes me think that Jocelyn made a mistake as John McCutcheon goes for the lead. He does need to win here, really, and even then it's going to be a tall order for him at Donington Park. Into the chase they go now, and John McCutcheon is ahead of Luke Maxwell. Good pass from him. But how many times are these two going to exchange places over the next 10 laps still to go here at Bathurst?
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be probably every single lap until the final one, to be honest with you. Buson is now losing time, and I say that tentatively because he is losing a few temps here and there. So let's see what happens here over this race and see whether or not he can put Edwards under pressure and keep him keep him honest, really, because that's what he needs to do to allow Maxwell and McHutchison to get away.
Yeah, so let's see in the remainder of this one. It's very close between those leading two, but no changes of positions for now, and they probably won't be over the top of the hill either. Simon Edwards will stay ahead of Mike Buson here as well, but he's not really making any inroads. He overtook Phil Jocelyn for third place about a lap ago, just over a lap ago. The gap was about 2.8 at the time. It's not really changed either in his favour or otherwise, so I think you could argue that is going against him in some ways, but there is a long way to go in this race. But if you're not catching now, I don't see any reason why you'd start catching in a couple of laps' time, which he really does need to, otherwise he will just run out of time. But I think one thing is for sure, that Mike Buson maybe won't be able to get ahead of Simon Edwards here. He just doesn't look quite as strong over the top of the hill especially.
Yeah, through that mountain section, coming through Skyline Dipper and the S's, Simon Edwards has got Buson's number. Going over the rest of the circuit, Buson does get it down to about 4 tenths, but he can't hold it going in through that section. He just needs to hold it a little bit longer, and then this draft where he's pulled 2.5 tenths, he will be able to make some form of gain on Simon Edwards in front. You can see Gonzaga going side by side with Jocelyn. Gonzaga's going to try around the outside. Jocelyn's at the curb. Gonzaga gives him room to bounce over it and come back in front of him. So great awareness there from George. McHutchison and Maxwell did not swap places that time around, as these guys coming in for turn 1 once more, and Buson has got that back down to 4 tenths.
Yeah, he has. Some of that will have been slipstream, of course, but it's all well and good drafting back up to someone in the slipstream, but if you're not close enough to make an overtake in the first place, there's almost no point being there. So Buson's got to get a bit closer and get a better run over the top, really, if he wants to finish in third position in this one and kick Simon Edwards off of the podium places. As of right now, the gap would be 16 points between McHutchison and Edwards, with a maximum 22 that McHutchison can gain in that final race or weekend, if you like. Those final 2 races means he can drop 4 points somewhere along the line. I guess he'd probably choose to maybe win both races and then pick up an incident point in one of the 2. I don't know, but it's such a tall order at the moment. He's very much up against it, is John McHutchison, but he will have known that.
Yeah, he would have done, but the question is he going to be able to do enough? That's the thing. Can he do enough once more? Can the William Wallace of the SR10s get out there and battle away and take it down to the wire? Buson did the same thing again. He has not got Edwards' pace or setup going through that Skyline S's, the part where he needs to gain the most, and he isn't. He gains over the rest of the lap, gets it to 3 tenths going into that section, comes out 6.5 the other side.
Yeah, it's a constant as well. It's always happening, and that's my point from earlier on. You know, it's all well and good drafting back up to someone again, but if you're not close enough in the first place to make any moves, then what is the point of being there in the first place? You're not going to be able to overtake the guy in front of you if things stay as they are, as John McHutchison sets the fastest lap of the race so far, just a 10th quicker than Luke Maxwell, who also did his personal best on that one. So did Simon Edwards. For some reason they're getting a little bit quicker out there on the circuit at the moment, past the 1/3 distance in this race. Maxwell and McHutchison are the closest on the circuit again, but Maxwell not quite close enough to McHutchison this time. He's a bit closer though than Buson is to Simon Edwards, so this battle for the lead looks like maybe the one that could change soonest.
Yeah, could do there as well. You can see, keeping an eye on Buson, he gets it down to about 6.5, loses a bit of time, and then closes up again. So we're back out again for Mike Buson. So it's really difficult for him to maintain this pace throughout. And the thing is with Bathurst as well, is you have to be on it. You can't be on it and then think about your shopping. You've got to be on it, 100% concentration, because going through this section will chew you up, and before you know it, you are causing a car park. So it's full concentration for these guys. They've got another 7 laps of this, and you can see the amount of time that Buson's losing with Edwards over Buson. He's coming out the other side 1 second this time. 1 second.
And there you have it. There's the difference you can make over the top of the mountain. People do often sort of dismiss this circuit. In some cars it is a bit of a draft track, I suppose, but the faster you get, the less of a draft track it gets. And we're seeing once again here that you can really make a difference over the top of the mountain. And while the straights are a good equaliser through Conrod or Mountain Straight, it's not quite going to save you from everything. And a mistake from John McCutcheon there undoes quite a lot of his work. Now the gap comes down to 3/10 of a second. Although I can't imagine Maxwell's going to be very incentivised to try and overtake and lead the field around. He might be, though, as he sets the fastest lap of the race so far.
Yeah, but he kind of doesn't have to, does he? We've seen Luke do this before, though, haven't we? Where he sat behind somebody, hoping that he gets him on the final lap. And I think it was Road Atlanta where he tried to do that. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. But we know going on the Conrod on the final lap is the best place to be. There's no point trying to be ahead, because you're going to have to defend like a trooper. And it's just too wide open for either one of these guys to make that move. So from Maxwell's point of view, he's doing the right thing. But is it going to work out? That's going to be the question.
Well, still quite a long way to finding out, to be honest. There's no other battles out there on the circuit. It's really going to be between these two. So close to the wall on the entrance there to another left-hander at Sulman Park, then through McPhillamy, and now over the top at Skyline. What a fantastic section of corners. But the whole ribbon of tarmac at the top of the mountain is just wonderful to watch cars go through that. Magnificent racetrack. The thing this track provides so well is that both the technical challenge that you would get around, somewhere like a Nordschleife, but also the overtaking opportunities that are so much more frequent than the Nordschleife. Really, you don't get many on the Nordschleife. I think of maybe 3 at best around there, but and that's 3 every lap, of course, 3 every 8 minutes. You get at least 2 every 2 minutes here at Mount Panorama, and it's just that level of wheel-to-wheel racing that you get around here that combines so well with the technical challenge over the top of the hill that makes this circuit so great to watch around here. Let's see what happened to Paul Clark. This is down at the Dipper, then into Forest Elbow. He locks the rear brakes, actually, and goes for a half spin on the way out of there. But Luke, he does lose a place to Phil Glover, actually, and looks back up the inside of him again at turn 8. No way through on that occasion for him. Is there a way through for Luke Maxwell here? He's a bit close on the way over the top of the hill here, but John McCutcheon clearly thinks there's no point in defending, and in the end he's right again. There's no overtake made, and McCutcheon still continues to lead the pair of them.
Yeah, and when we were talking about Edwards earlier on as well, 2.5 seconds over Buson. He was pulling out tenths up through this section and through the S's and down into the Dipper. That over the last 3 laps has materialised into 2.5 seconds. So Luke Maxwell there doing an absolutely stunning job through that mountain section. And we can see there with Buson, he gets 2 temps in one, 3 temps in the other, coming into sector 3, which they're going to hit just on the exit of the Dipper now, and we'll see what he's going to be able to pull in here again and clear him. But you can see he is literally making strides at the moment. Simon Edwards, 3 temps over sector 4. That's basically near enough 3, 6, 7, 8 and a bit temps, plus whatever he's going to get. It could be another second here over Mike Buson.
And look at the difference as well in the gap and the way it's just imploding now. 3.3 seconds. And that just shows you the sort of benefit of the draft when you've got it, of course. When you don't have it, it's a bit of a pain. But Edwards is so far ahead of Bousson. You know, he's not been going any quicker as Edwards, and Bousson hasn't been going any slower over the top. But it's the fact that Bousson could have got the draft on the back straight, just crawled up to the back of Simon Edwards, and then by the time they're on the mountain, he's right on the gearbox, and he can try and close in. Oh, that was up over the curb for Paul Clark. Did he have to go over the grass there, Phil Glover? No, he just about survived, but Paul Clark clearly wants his way through pretty quickly here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for these guys because obviously I met both of these in real life as well. So these guys know each other outside of this. So this could be an interesting development to see how this one pans out. Difficult for Paul to get through because feels like Paul, he can defend if he needs to. But Paul, he's just got to settle in and get past Phil Glover. I don't think he's going to get any further up the road, to be honest. I don't think he's going to get Jocelyn. But with 4 to go, we've still got Maxwell and McCutcheon.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, was that an actual contact with the wall, or was it just very close? Because Maxwell's done that a couple of times on the last couple of laps as well, which just gives out a puff of smoke. But sometimes, and in fact more often than not, it doesn't actually mean they've scraped the wall. It just means they've got quite close, and Harrison can't quite figure out the difference, of course. So it's different to work out. McCutcheon there goes through the dipper ahead of Maxwell, gaining a bit of time here and there, actually. And so out of Forest Elbow, he gets a good run off the turn. Just notice the difference there in line. McCutcheon with a late apex there gives him a good exit. Now, it's not going to alleviate his slipstream problems, but it is probably going to keep Maxwell at bay.
Yeah, it should do here as well. He might be able to hold him. We're obviously going to presume that McCutcheon's on full speed. Maxwell goes through. He takes the lead now. We've got Barry in the background with Bousson. Barry's caught up to Mike Bousson, and Barry now battling away with that orange machine. So a couple of battles in the front here. Has John McCutcheon played the game that Luke was playing? Did he want to sit there and get the Conrad straight on the final lap? Well, we're going to find out very, very shortly, because we've only got about 3 laps, 6 minutes to go here this evening.
Yeah, we certainly do. So as things stand, to remind you in the championship again, 16 points would be the gap between Edwards and McCutcheon if things stay as they are. 21 would be the gap if McCutcheon finishes in second position. So he ideally does need to win here, does John, to make things a little bit easier on himself. The maximum amount of points he could gain at Donington Park would be 22. So bear that in mind as well. He's got to make sure that he doesn't leave himself in that situation. Clearly Maxwell didn't want to wait all that time because he has gone through now. And the thing that will have pleased John McCutcheon as well is that they've waited long enough that Edwards is still over 2 seconds back, and so he might not get to them until the end unless they really start fighting very hard. Then he might not get there until after the checker flag.
So close to that wall, coming up through McPhillamy and down through Skyline. We'll try and pick up on the front there next time they're going up through that section, because they are incredibly close. McCutcheon's losing time here, and I say that tentatively because he has got the Conrad straight to come, of course, but he has lost about 2 tenths over that mounted section. Edwards has pulled in time on the behind him. They're 1.7 now behind him here, but this is where it should extend, because these guys, and it is, have got the draft. Edwards doesn't, so it goes back out to about 1.8, 1.9 by the time they come into the chase.
Yeah, it does. And will McCutcheon stay behind in favour of keeping Edwards sufficiently far away? Well, it might not matter now. The gap down to 1.8, and as soon as Edwards gets into the slipstream, then it's over for him. And as all of a sudden it's all out of control, and Simon Edwards might be able to win the title on this day. At the moment, McCutcheon only gaining 4 of those points back, which would leave him just 21 behind Edwards, as I mentioned, and that would lose him 1 point on the day, unless, of course, one of them has not got any incident points in this race, which complicates things further. I'm not sure we can find that out.
I'm not registering any off tracks for Maxwell, McCutcheon or Edwards during this one. Or, to be fair, James Barry and Mike Bousson. I am registering for Paul Clark and also Jamie Bird, which is what we have seen. So it's possible that that might be true, and both of them don't have incident points.
How likely is it to be true?
Well, to be fair, it is pretty good. They haven't made any car contact and that's the only thing that the system can't pick up on. It doesn't differentiate between car contact, so it can't give me car contact, which I think both of these guys haven't, but it will give me off tracks, and at the moment they haven't got any.
Well, I didn't see McCutcheon through turn 1, but I don't think he did make contact with anyone. I don't think Edwards has either, but who knows? I mean, it's one of those circuits, isn't it, Bathurst, where it's difficult to pick up an off-track because off-tracks are generally in the wall around here, so it's pretty difficult to get them. That's my key concern, really, for Donington Park, is that if McCutcheon needs to get those 3 bonus points for both races, and Edwards doesn't, then, it's going to be very difficult to do it at a circuit like that.
Yeah, Donny's not easy. That's the thing, isn't it? It can be very, very difficult here as well. So he's got to make sure that if he's going to take it and do it, he wants to do it really and giving himself an opportunity. We're going right at the chicane as well. McCutcheon now goes back through, and he's still got 2 laps to go here. So whether or not that's an ideal scenario, you can see both left-hand side of them SR10s are scratched up where they're so close to the wall. Donny, of course, we haven't got the Melbourne hairpin. We're literally going right there at the Foggett ESs. So he's got an easier circuit, but still a difficult one in conjunction with off-tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, in terms of layout, it's the national layout, so it's going to be a very short lap round there, and it will be 24 laps for the feature race, by the way, which is only 4 short of what we had at Tsukuba, the longest round of the season so far in terms of laps. So that's worth bearing in mind. But McCutcheon under pressure again now. Oh, Maxwell doesn't go for it, but Edwards is right there, and it's as simple as this. If McCutcheon finishes ahead, we've got a championship still alive. If not, then Edwards wins the title. That's the situation. Finishing just 1 position behind John will not be enough for Simon Edwards to seal it tonight. He's got to beat him in this race, but you'd think he's got all the chance of doing so. McCutcheon has to defend up the way to Reed Park, and now it's on over the top of the mountain.
McCutcheon made a mistake coming out of the cutting. That brought Maxwell right up behind him, and now Edwards is sitting here as like prime time viewing as we're going to be on the final lap. This time around, we've still got the Conrad. It's going to be whether or not Maxwell can't pull time. Edwards, I think. Oh, did he clip it?
Maybe. Not sure. Going to be hard to tell, but he's certainly getting close to the wall. Oh, he slides out of Forest Elbow as well. Maxwell didn't have a great run across the top there, and so I don't think he'll be close enough here, and McCutcheon needs to do that all over again if he wants to win this race. But look at the straight line speed of Simon Edwards, clearly not held back by any damage, clearly being helped by his lack of wing that he so often runs in this car. Now he goes into the braking zone, level with Luke Maxwell, into the chase. He goes right round the outside, needs to be careful not to run off the road, of course, or make any contact. Now into the final turn, Edwards is into second, and he'll have John McCutcheon worried because he could seal the title with a pass on the final lap here at Bathurst.
Yeah, Barney on the right, the left-hand side waving there. Edwards cleared it. Now for McCutcheon, he needs Maxwell to come back at him on the mountain straight here and get him into quarry if he can. He needs to hold him up just that little bit to allow McCutcheon to try and get away. But you can see Edwards is closing on McCutcheon on the straight. Maxwell's not closing on Edwards. So Edwards skinny wing, 0 wing, minus wing, whatever he's running, he is rocking some pace. This free final lap. Oh, how's this going to go?
Well, it could come down to Luke Maxwell in some ways, because if he gets involved here, then Edwards might not have a chance to go through on McCutcheon, but it's whoever finishes ahead is still in with the chance of a title. If Edwards is ahead of McCutcheon at the end of this race, then it's over, no matter what positions they're in. So that's got to be worth bearing in mind here for these two. It's going to be so important, that run off of Forest Elbow.
Yes, who's going to get that? Basically, if I was John, I'd try and bat Luke in as much as I can. Go slower through this section where it's hard for Edwards to overtake and back Edwards into Maxwell. You've got to give Maxwell a shout, and you've got to give him a chance down through here. This is it. There you go. He hasn't really taken him away. Edwards didn't get the run. Now it's all whether or not Maxwell can hold the draft, and at the moment he can't.
No.
Edwards is getting this here, Ewan. He's getting it, and now they're side by side going into the chase.
And John needs to do something right now if he wants to still win this title. But Simon Edwards now on the verge of becoming a 6-time champion. And here comes Luke Maxwell. Luke Maxwell's got alongside John McCutcheon here. And it could be over. There's contact. And Maxwell's gone off the road of the chase. This looks like it's going to be it for season 1 of 2024. Into the final turn, Simon Edwards comes through to win here at Bathurst, and he is a 6-time Radical Race Series champion here for the first time in 3 seasons. He is on the top step again. He's a race winner again, and he is the champion with 2 races still to go.
You can't begrudge him. I'm sorry, the way Edwards is driven this season has been sublime, and John did what he needed to do. He got Maxwell right behind Edwards coming out of Forest, but you saw the difference in setups. You saw it there. Edwards 0-0. Literally, you can guarantee he might have been running a little bit, but boy, oh boy, did he just completely pull away from Maxwell. Maxwell had no answer, and job done, job's a good one, all done and dusted.
Done and dusted. 1 round to go. And just like John McCutcheon was able to do 2 seasons ago, Simon Edwards wins the title with still a round remaining. He is the winner here at Bathurst ahead of John McCutcheon and Luke Maxwell. James Barry wasn't all that far away at the end either, with Mike Bousson in 5th place, holding off from George Gonzaga. It was lonely races for Phil Justin, Paul Clark, Phil Glover and David Beasley, who finished inside the top 10. Jamie Bird started the race in far too good of a position to get anything, I'm afraid, and so finished 11th. Graham Brown finished 12th. James Ritchie did not start. Not sure whether Jamie Bird just gave up actually after the first lap, but I wouldn't be surprised based on his track record of how races go once he qualifies or starts on pole.
Well, I've got an interesting point for you on that one. Jamie Bird, as per, I activated zerogrip.exe in both races. Sorry, Luke, for making your race one worse than it already was. Time for a break for a while. So there we go. It looks like we may have lost Jamie Bird once more, as well as James McRitchie. But we'll give these guys a couple of minutes to get into the booth. Do you want to have a quick chat with Phil Glover while we're here? And you can pull Phil in and have a conversation with Phil before we go into the main winners.
We can do. We'll bring in Phil at the start of our interviews this time. He waits around for us enough. We should bring him in first sometime. Welcome in, Phil. Good to have you with us here tonight after the rounds at Bathurst. It's always an entertaining circuit to drive, but how was it in terms of rating?
Yeah, it was okay for me, I guess. Apart from me, I don't know what went on the first lap. One of the guys in front of me just slowed down, and I didn't understand why. So I slowed down as well, and just caused a bit of a pile-up, I'm afraid. Apart from that, 9th, but there weren't many entries, were they? So I'm not congratulating myself really about that.
Well, it's still the same amount of points, isn't it? And the top 10 for you is still on the cards here for this season, I would say, but who knows what's still to come. I mean, it's Donington Park for one last race next time out. How do you go around there?
It's not a track that I drive very often, but it's quite quick, isn't it? Yeah, it'll be entertaining, I'm sure.
I'm sure it will be, yeah. It will be the fast layout as well. It's a national layout, so no hairpins at the very end of the circuit, which is... maybe some people will be pleased about. It does give a bit of a nicer flow to the circuit, I suppose, to run that one. Is there anyone you'd like to go shout out to, Phil, before we let you go?
Simon for his continued perseverance with me, and yeah, you guys, as usual, really. Was it an entertaining race for you tonight, or both of them?
It was an entertaining finish to race 2, certainly, but before that, it was a bit of waiting for the final laps, really. Race 1 was pretty good as well, but yeah, I guess it's somewhat more difficult when there's 13 cars on the grid, isn't it? They're less likely to find each other on the circuit.
That's right. Yeah, it's quite a long circuit, isn't it? Well, I look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week, Phil.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks so much, Phil Glover there, chatting to us at the end of tonight's racing at Bathurst. Now we can bring in one of those podium getters anyway. Simon Edwards joins us now officially according to our calculations, Simon, well, ours, mine, you have won the title with 2 races to go and 1 round still remaining of the season with a 30-point gap. You can't be caught from this situation. How much of that kind of stuff did you know about during the race, or were you just trying to win?
I just knew roughly if I got more points than John in certainly in this first race, so he drops his 0 points, then I thought I've got a good chance for it. And then after the end of lap 1 or whatever it was in the first race, I thought, oh, darn it, and swore a bit on the radio. But John was very good there waiting for me. And then I had a good bit of fun coming back.
I mean, that's not the first time in the last 3 weeks that you've ended up in an incident somehow. So, I mean, whether you know, certain incidents were your fault or not, I mean, I don't believe you've been at fault for any of them that I can remember. I'm going off.
When I ran over James, yeah.
I'm going off. Yeah. I'm only going off the top of my head, to be fair. So I may have forgotten. But anyway, it must be a little bit frustrating for the last few weeks to have been in so much contact, but you've managed to recover from it very well indeed. I mean, what was your view on the actual incident itself in race 1? I know John waited in the end, so maybe it's all water under the bridge and it doesn't matter in the end. But just what did you think about it?
Well, first of all, I thought, I might be able to pull away from him as I came past him, because I came past quite quick. So I thought, he must have had a bit of downforce on, and I've got more pace. So I was just thinking about the next lap. And then I saw in my mirror, oh no. And I tried to ease off the brakes to try and give a bit more room. What I should have done is just run through the chase grass, really. But yeah, I think it was just a mistake on cold tyres. I think that's all it was.
So I guess understandable. Is there anyone I'd like to give a shout out to, Sam, before we let you go?
Everybody in the league, really. For I don't know if you've noticed it, but it's getting a lot closer. We've certainly got a big group now of closer people. We've got John, we've got Luke, we've got me. Mike's there sometimes. Paul Clark's won a race this season. George Gonzaga's won a race. Has James Barry won a race?
He won today.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he won the first race, didn't he? So I think it's becoming more open and more challenging. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, certainly. Are you running Bathurst this weekend, by the way, Simon? Just as a side note.
With the podium finishers in the first race is my team.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So, and we call ourselves Grumpy's Racing. So Team Grumpy's podium, that was, yeah.
It'll be, hopefully you have a good time at Bathurst in the weekend. Congratulations, Simon, on another championship, and thanks for coming to chat to us. Good luck at Bathurst again on the weekend.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the great broadcasts.
Thanks very much. Simon Edwards there, now 6-time Radical Race Series champion. And I think the most impressive thing about this time around, James, is the fact that this is the longest time since Simon Edwards started winning championships that he's ever had to wait. Since he won his first title in season 4 of 2021, he's only had 1 season off previous to this latest run of 3 races where he hasn't won a title. But he's shown once again he's able to bounce back from adversity in the previous seasons. It's almost a year to the day since he last celebrated a title, and for him that's a long time out. It was, absolutely. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we've been able to get any of the other podium drivers actually for us to chat to us today, which is a bit odd, but there we are. So we'll hopefully get a few more drivers in for the finale next week and have a chat to them at the end of the season. sort of a season roundup, if you like, after Donington Park next week. But that is all from us here tonight. I hope that you'll join us again in 1 week's time. It's sure to be fantastic racing, even if it is going to be a bit of a dead rubber at the end of the season. Make sure you subscribe to the JPB YouTube channel for all the other racing that's going on, including two other broadcasts at Bathurst tonight. If you can't get enough of this circuit just yet, then make sure you go and check out all of those other ones from tonight. Lots of stuff coming up this weekend and throughout next week as well, though, of course, as there is every week on the JPB YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe and have a look. For now, though, we will bid you our farewells. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Jed Parfitt, and until we see you again in 1 week's time at Donington Park, it's goodbye for now.